I'm happy we hit the magic, 6-digit level. I think we'll continue to accrete and go higher. I think a lot of it's going to come down to, do any of these big Mag 7 companies actually buy some?
Mm.
That'll be a big deal, particularly in the short run. Do any other corporations around the world model, the MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet kind of model, and become Bitcoin banks essentially? And then does the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill get passed in the first 100 days?
In October, Mark Yusko, founder, CIO, and managing director of Morgan Creek Capital Management, shared a highly optimistic forecast for the cryptocurrency industry. He predicted that this year's Thanksgiving would mark a historic milestone for the sector, calling it the most remarkable Thanksgiving since Bitcoin's inception. Yusko forecasted Bitcoin, the leading cryptocurrency, would be trading near $100,000 per coin by the holiday season, signaling extraordinary growth and enthusiasm within the digital asset space. At the time of his prediction, Bitcoin was trading below $70,000, but it quickly soared over the next month, reaching nearly $100,000. Shortly after, Bitcoin hit the long-awaited six-figure mark, a level it has maintained consistently since. Earlier this week, Bitcoin set a new record peak of $18,200, increasing its Bitcoin holdings to $439,000. While Yusko celebrates these developments, particularly as we approach crypto fall in 2025, he believes even greater milestones are on the horizon. One key event he's excited about is the adoption of Bitcoin by multi-trillion-dollar companies like Apple and Microsoft, along with the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States in the first half of 2025. Yusko anticipates that these developments will propel Bitcoin to new, unprecedented highs, opening the door for global mass adoption of the cryptocurrency.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
Go back to the beginning of this year. We had all the excitement about the adoption or approval of the Bitcoin ETFs, and Bitcoin prices were still down in the doldrums, and sub 40,000, and recovering nicely from the 15K at the trough after the FTX debacle, but still not really that exciting, and people were still kind of nervous. Suddenly we get this big move right after the approval in January, February, got all the way to 74K. And it was like, oh my gosh, the halving, it's going to be great. And then we went the other way for a long time. From February through September, we kind of went like this. We kept making lower highs and lower lows, a very ugly, what's called a distributive pattern, where there was just a lot of selling going on, particularly in the futures market. And, in January, we do this thing every year called the 10 surprises. I, shamelessly stole it from Byron Wien. And we make 10 predictions about the future of different markets. And one of them is always around the crypto market. And we said that, highly likely we would see six-figure Bitcoin this year, and that fair value would trend upwards from where it was at 50K pre-halving to somewhere between 80 and 100K post-halving, depending on how many inscriptions and transaction fees we got. And long story short, we thought it would settle somewhere between, call it 120 and 150 by the end of the year, end of the cycle, but we didn't know exactly where. And one thing I was pretty sure of is that, this would be the best Thanksgiving ever. You go back 3 years ago, basically we were all uninvited. Bitcoiners were uninvited. It's like, yeah, just don't even come. We decided not to have Thanksgiving this year. 2 years ago, they're like, all right, fine, you can come, but you're sitting at the kids' table. Then last year, it was like, okay, you can come, but you're over there by Uncle Ned. I'm like, I didn't even know I had an Uncle Ned. This year, it's like head of the table, 2 turkey legs. We love you. I'm happy we hit the magic, 6-digit level. I think we'll continue to accrete and go higher. I think a lot of it's going to come down to, do any of these big Mag 7 companies actually buy some?
Mm,
That'll be a big deal, particularly in the short run. Do any other corporations around the world model, the MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet kind of model, and become Bitcoin banks essentially? And then does the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill get passed in the first 100 days? Senator Lummis's bill that, look, with David Marcus as the Bitcoin and AI czar, pro crypto guy, with Scott Bessent, who's relatively pro crypto, a Treasury Secretary, with the Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, with Commerce Secretary, he's relatively pro Bitcoin. So we got a lot of support for the SBR. And look, 200,000 Bitcoin isn't all the Bitcoin in the world, but it's a meaningful number.
yeah.
And it's 10 weeks of MicroStrategy. So it's not like all the money in the world, but it's meaningful. I think that could trigger some sovereign entity FOMO, because if the US does it, well, then, geez, does Japan have to do it? And then does the ECB have to do it? And then does everybody have to put it on the central bank balance sheet? Which, if you would have said that 5 years ago, Tony, people would have looked at you like you had two heads.
As a global superpower, the United States continues to set trends worldwide. This week, former German Finance Minister Christian Lindner criticized his government's approach to Bitcoin and the broader crypto space, calling for urgent policy reforms to ensure Germany remains competitive in the global crypto landscape. Lindner emphasized that the U.S. is capitalizing on opportunities with Bitcoin that Germany is missing, questioning why there is no crypto-friendly policy in place within Germany's Bundestag. Lindner's comments are even more relevant considering that Germany sold off around 50,000 Bitcoin earlier this year, and since then, Bitcoin's value has more than doubled. Experts estimate that the sale could have been $2.3 billion more if it had occurred after Bitcoin hit $100,000. His advocacy for Bitcoin is starting to gain traction, with fellow politician Frank Schaffler supporting Lindner's call for better crypto regulations in Germany and the wider Eurozone. While some argue that Lindner is leveraging Bitcoin for political gain, it's clear that the conversation is expanding. As the U.S. moves toward establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, the global crypto discussion is intensifying. Mark Yusko warns that the crypto industry is still facing opposition, and more battles need to be won before full acceptance by regulators and the banking industry.
The narrative's catching up to the technology. This is what I love. The technology's been there since day one. Many people didn't really understand it, but now I think people are realizing that, okay, blockchains are a better database, right? They are a decentralized database. Okay, why is that good? Well, they're more fault tolerant, fault resistant, they're permanent, they're immutable. And so that technology is really good. Well, what's it really good for? Well, one application, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain is a better form of gold, which is money. Gold is money, right? Everything else is just credit, as JP Morgan famously quipped. And money's an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. And gold has been that for 5,000 years. But Bitcoin is as scarce as gold. So it has the primary element you need to be a store of value. But it's better than gold in that it's more portable and more divisible. So you can divide each Bitcoin into 100 million Satoshis. I look at that and say, all right, now that the narrative has caught up to the technology and people can't, you can't ignore it. It's the old adage, we've talked about this too, is from 2009 to 2015, it was pretty much first they ignore you phase. A bunch of nerds and geeks you go play with your magic internet money. Yeah, whatever. And it was a science experiment. It was, a few tens of thousands of dollars, then tens of millions of dollars. And then, oh my gosh, it was $1 billion. $1 billion, they're like, yeah, whatever. Then we hit kind of the $10 billion mark. And we went in from the first they ignore you to the then they laugh at you phase. And that was kind of 2016 to 21. And that was $10 billion. How cute. You nerds and geeks, you're so funny. But then in 22, suddenly we got like 100 billion. It's like, well, now we got a freaking problem. Now JP Morgan is angry and they go to Elizabeth Warren and they do the anti-crypto army and Bitcoin's evil and China had already tried to ban it in 2018 and they doubled down on that and everybody was jumping on the bandwagon. That's the then they fight you phase. And I said, 2022 to 2027, kind of that's the then they fight you phase. It won't take that long. We'll win. Well, the thing is, if you're here, right, if you're watching your show, if you own Bitcoin, if you believe, we've already won. That's the cool part. But they're not going to give up the fight. And even if we win a couple skirmishes here and even win a few battles, the war's not over. And JP Morgan is going to fight, and Deutsche Bank is going to fight, and the Bank of International Settlements is going to fight. And they're going to try saying, well, buy our CBDC instead. Don't use that Bitcoin. That's for terrorists and criminals. No, CBDCs are for terrorists and criminals, governments. So I don't think that then they fight you is over, but we're halfway through it or 60% of the way through it. And 25, 26, I think we'll make progress. And I think we'll see new highs. And I think a lot more people will believe, right? They'll kind of say, oh, wait a second. This doesn't sound as crazy as I thought.
Right.
And this technology actually seems pretty sound.
The cryptocurrency industry is poised for significant growth in the coming weeks and months, with central banks preparing to flood their economies with money. Financial assets, especially cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, stand to benefit the most. Additionally, key challenges such as regulatory clarity are being addressed in the US, which is expected to further fuel the rise in crypto prices in the near future. Do you agree with Mark Yusko's optimistic and bullish outlook on Bitcoin and the broader crypto market? Share your thoughts, comments, and observations in the section below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.